if you want to support the show, any of the shows, either this or whichever show, I'm not on right now because this is just a blanket ad for all of them, and the website, you can go to bewareofspoilers.com. In the description for any of the episodes of Beware of Spoilers, there is the option to donate. If you don't want to donate that way, you can donate directly through the website. We do have that, mwpnews.com. And if you don't want to support that way, then going to mwpnews.com will help out because we have ads there. We don't want to keep it, you know, where there's a lot of ads. There's a few ads. But the point is, we want to make it so that way, we can sustain this for the long term. If people donate, we're never going to paywall anything, I don't think, as of right now. But you know, if people start donating, we'll start doing cooler and cooler stuff. Like donations are how we get to cover stuff like Tribeca and other, film festivals. And, we may be able to bring on more people to help out. So if you want to help out the show and you want more content from us, by all means, even just going and giving us a 5-star rating on Spotify helps out a lot. But that's it. That's the only ad we'll have on the podcast ever. But here's whatever podcast you're going to be listening to. Good morning and welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. And there's no real major release this week. I mean, there's The Crow, but I didn't think to watch The Crow. I had this idea to go back to the old kind of scheduled review format before taking that into consideration. The first thing I did was I was on the Criterion app and I saw they had a Paul Thomas Anderson collection, and then I saw, I had seen Punch Drunk Love. It's one of those ambient noise movies that has just been a constant, like, this exists, like Twister. We talked about it with Twister a few weeks ago. Um, Sorry, I've been sick all week, which is why there's been no Beware of Spoilers, really. But regardless, I watched Punch Drunk Love. Um, and let's go take a look at where it stands. And I don't want to say that, like, I hated the movie, because that's gonna make me come off like an asshole. And look, there are things I really enjoyed about it. It's just, and yes, I get this is a very significant movie because this is the one that kind of moved Adam Sandler into that leading man role that, in a dramatic sense, is you don't get movies like Men, Women, and Children, which was not great. The book wasn't great either. I read the book when I saw the trailer for the movie. Um, and the book wasn't great. Then there was the Meyerowitz story is another one. Uncut Gems. Like, these are all great performances. And I think that Sandler has a fantastic performance in this movie, as he plays this guy who's just lonely and kind of just, depressed and sad and kind of a little eccentric. And I think he plays that very well. And to that end, I think this movie is good enough. But, like, when I see it makes the list of the top movies of the 2000s at number 33 from AV Club, I'm like, not so much something that I'm very, you know, gung ho about. Like, the whole thing is that it's like, I I I think that part of it is he is enough of an asshole. Um, like, hands down, like, I think he's enough of an asshole, Adam Sandler in this movie, where as the movie goes through, and he's wishy-washy enough where I'm like, can we, like, it becomes annoying to watch after a certain point. I'm not saying the movie's bad. I don't want to be like that asshole. I looked it up on Metacritic to see where it stood, and it's like the example of the bad review was the New York Post, which I was like, oh, maybe I should reconsider. Um, but it makes it hard for me to sympathize with Adam Sandler in this movie because he is so wishy-washy the whole time, because he is so non-committal towards wanting to be, happy or anything like that. Like, and I get it, I get what it is, but seeing him in that role, especially considering he is, does, like, I'm supposed to feel bad for him and feel positive that he gets this relationship, but I think that they do such a good job of making him wishy-washy that it makes it kind of like, okay, I don't care about anything he does now. Because it's clear, like, the big thing for me is, like, I will care about what the character cares about if the character cares about it. That's kind of the biggest thing that you have to do as a filmmaker to get me on board with whatever your character's trying to do. Like, be it, a good thing, be it a bad thing. Like, I have no problem with a good, unsympathetic protagonist. I don't have a problem with that. The issue is when they're unsympathetic for a reason where they lack conviction or they lack the desire to actually improve their station in life, or it's just kind of like, and even that, if well executed, I can deal with, because like a character like Dante from Clerks is inherently a character who cannot, you know, who lacks that commitment in what he wants to do. He doesn't know what he wants, but because he doesn't know what he wants, the movie's about life passing him by. With this movie, it's about him trying to take a more active role and his rage issues that go into it. I I don't know. I feel like there's a lot here that could have been better laid out that would have been more engaging for me. Like this doesn't have to be a and I think it's too. The movie is weirdly paced, where it's like I got to a certain point where it's like he's going to Hawaii, and I'm like, oh, there's still a weird amount of time left here, like in this movie, where it's like when he's going to Hawaii, and it's like, oh, and then he comes back, and then he goes, and because the whole thing, like, I don't think the whole thing with the phone sex line was really necessary to the plot. Um, and I think that this movie would have been stronger for it. Like, it feels like a weird, superfluous piece of information that, like, oh, and he called the phone sex line. And, like, I get that it's the motivating factor for why he decides to go to Hawaii, because, like, without that, he doesn't go to Hawaii, and that's the push that he needs to go there. But it's just like, I maybe I'm talking myself up on the movie as I do this because it's like as I'm watching, I'm like I don't feel like. But I'm like, well, no, he needs that because without that, he kind of just wouldn't have he wouldn't have gone to Hawaii to be with Emily Watson if it weren't for the fact that he had to, um, he had to flee out of fear of being attacked and blackmailed out of more of his money. It it's an odd situation all around, but it's like it at the same time, it feels like a weirdly specific set of circumstances that lead him down the path to happiness, where he's not, like, he's actively involved because he's making decisions, but at the same time, he's not being put in situations where the decisions are organic for him to make. Like, him deciding to go to Hawaii doesn't feel like a decision that he's making because he's falling in love with this woman. And I think that is something that he needs, where it's like, this is a relationship that I feel is not going to last once this movie is over. Like, when you watch other romantic comedies or other romance movies, like, the goal is that when this movie ends, I should feel that these characters are going to continue and get married and have kids and live happily ever after. I don't really feel that here because the relationship is on such a truncated timeline and they've known each other for such a short amount of time that by the time we get to the end and everything has happened, I'm kind of like, yeah, but what if he just kind of, goes back to his old ways? I don't feel that he has made a concrete and permanent change by the time we've reached the end of this movie. And that's kind of the big issue I have with the way this is kind of portrayed. Um, is it terrible? No, I wouldn't say the movie's terrible. I wouldn't say the movie's even bad. I mean, there's enough good here. I think the score is fantastic. Um, and I did really enjoy, again, I enjoyed Adam Sandler's performance, and Emily Watson can always be trusted to put on a good show, and I think this is a very well done movie. There is a lot here that could have been improved, and I think that one of the things I'm realizing is maybe I enjoy Paul Thomas Anderson in so much as I enjoy his movie, There Will Be Blood. Or no, yes, he did There Will Be Blood. I always mix up There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men, because that was a big year. But like, I enjoy that movie. But like, coming off of, and I enjoy Boogie Nights, but coming off of Licorice Pizza, and coming off of this, I'm like, maybe he's more hit or miss than I give him credit for. But we will see as we traverse more of his filmography over the years. Um, but yeah, I think that's as good a place to wrap up as any. I would say using our scale of 1 to 5, which I think we're going to revamp because it feels wrong to be doing it the way we are. Um, I think we should go to a regular 10-point scale. I mean, we can put or a 5-point scale with halves in the middle, um, and not in consideration of where the what's it called, where the thing is, like how it's worth watching. Um, and then we'll re-rank everything on the website. But maybe I would say this is like 4 stars, where it's like if they were showing this in a movie theater and I had not seen it already, I would go to see this. And I think that if you were to like, this is a good I think it's a good date movie, and it's good to see in a theater. I wouldn't rush out to see it, but I would, it's like, oh, okay, they're showing Punch Drunk Love for some reason. I mean, the 20th anniversary was 2 years ago, so if that's the case, then maybe we will, maybe I'll go see it. But I wouldn't. If I had anything else to see that weekend, I would probably prioritize that over this. But if I just wanted to go to a movie and go to a theater, this would not be a poor way to use that time. And I realize that I'm in the minority of people who do not like this movie, but I was thoroughly unimpressed. I think that it just did not live up to the hype that I've been hearing about this movie for all my life. It's like you hear people on press tours and they're like, "Oh, I love Punch Drunk Love." I'm like, "Oh, maybe I should watch that." Maybe it is just these movies, like, when it's hyped up as much as it is, it doesn't live up to that, so it feels worse than it is. Um, so, yeah, we'll wrap up there for today. Our next episode will be next week. We're going to be talking about a key piece of 90s independent film. I think it's the film debut of Parker Posey, Party Girl, another movie off the Criterion app. So we'll be back with that next week. So until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.